Alright, welcome back. Let's jump right into Bison Valley Part 4. And what we're going to work on now are these grass areas here. And we're going to go to the custom brush tool. This time we're going to actually jump over to the bristle brush right here. And one of these, I kind of like this bristle round, so we'll start with that one. And we're going to paint in the grass. Now the grass, in order to make it kind of work, you want to paint it lighter and then a little bit darker as it gets towards you, and then you'll paint a little bit more lighter on top of it to really make it look like grass. You're not going to sit here and paint all these individual grass blades. But what you can do, for example, is kind of scrub it up and down so that it starts to make these clumps of where the highlights and the dark parts are going to be. Which, by the way, ArtRage has in the stickers, if you go to presets, it has these nature stamps like grass and all that, dune grass or grass 2 or whatever. I don't like them, to be perfectly honest, because to me it just doesn't look right. Okay, so I don't use those. So if you see these in here, that's why I don't use them, because it's just the same image stamped as it goes across, hence why it's called the stamp brush. And I don't use it for any of these. Okay, I do use some of these later, like I can show you how to use this cloud brush, works well, but the reason I don't use these as much for the sticker spray is because it doesn't blend. It literally just stamps one on top of the other on top of the other. So that's the main reason why. But that does exist in here, just so you know. And there are, under the nature stuff, there are also these fir grass, fir grass, and again, they don't lay right to me, so that's why I don't tend to use them. Now I may use it a little bit on this bison's fur, because it can be useful for some stuff there, but most of the time I just use the bristles, because again, that's how I would do it traditionally. So that's what I use. Alright, so let's get a little bit lighter color like that one. Whoops. Managed to hit my Windows button. Alright. And we want to scrub in some areas where I think grass should be showing. But to me, like these worn brushes like this bristle brush, worn one, that looks much more grass-like than the grass brushes. Alright, now what I'm doing is I'm going back and forth between this light color, and I'm just mainly putting pressure and going up, kind of flicking. That's why you hear it tapping. Then I'm selecting this dark color and going underneath it to seed it. So it's really a push and pull back and forth, and if I don't like it, I switch back to eraser mode and kind of break it up a little bit. So I want this to be some really thick grass. So I'm just going to lay in some of this lighter color. And this is one of those things, again, you've got to build this up as you go. To get kind of the look that you want. Some of this will be seeded back. Once we do this grass and him, that'll fade into the background and your eye will say, oh, there's more grass and there's more buffalo or bison or whatever back there. So that's part of why we're not worried about painting every little blade of grass. We're just trying to get the impression of grass being back there. Like so. A little bit in here. And leave some spaces around to again kind of break it up. And give it some highlights and textures and interest. So case in point, if I want to put a highlight here, I don't want to just do the whole thing, so I'll skip a little bit. Maybe change the color a little bit. Like so. And then you just kind of get these peaks and valleys automatically of where there's scrub grass. And you can see how that's really starting to get that grassy kind of texture to it and really seed it down in there. And then I can take one of these off yellows and kind of go over all of it really lightly. And that'll kind of soften it back. And it is kind of, you see how it's stopping and stuttering? That's the graphics card doing that. ArtRage isn't really intensive on pulling on your graphics card. It's just every now and then one of the certain brushes, if it's a kind that's going to repeat its pattern a lot, it can do that. Now all I did, in case you didn't notice, I made another layer because I know I wanted to put this kind of scrub grass in front of it so he's seated. Down in it. Gonna do the same with them. There we go. Okay, so got a good portion of the grass put in there. I'm going to actually merge that down like so. I'm going to wait on merging this guy down just so I can have a little more leeway to paint him, and the same for them back there. So let's kind of pull these guys in. I need the drawing back just a little bit because I need to know where the eyes and everything go. Okay. And select this darker color here. And let's see how this bristle round looks. Yeah, I think that'll work. It's giving us almost a dry brush effect. Actually, you know what? Well, no. Started saying I'm going to merge that down in it, but I don't want to do that. His nose is going to come around here. Around here. And we'll push this shadow back. Actually, I'm going to switch the oil brush because I can get a cleaner, quicker brush on it. Because I almost need to draw this in like so. So the reason I switched to the oil brush, the custom brushes are really they're at their core, they're designed to blend with the stuff below it. The oil brush is designed to paint on top of it. So right now I need to paint on top. So I can get the look that I need. Again, these guys have this jagged coat. like so. So we've got that coming in. I need a do the horn. This horn has a little bit of blue in it. Usually not that much, but something to make it stand out. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to switch back to this bristle. Kind of soften some of these edges. Like so. Okay. Zoom that out a little bit. Take a look. Oops. So again, we're still kind of underpainting this guy because we need to get some of the texture down for him to kind of make it look right. Now what I'm doing here is I realized when I took that painting off, I lost a lot of my shadow here, so it was losing the definition of where stuff is. So I want to kind of establish that again by painting over top of it. Getting back some of my shapes. There we go. That helps. Okay. They're just some burly, beefy dudes. It's just amazing how they're ragged their fur can be. Alright, let's zoom out, take a look. It's getting there. Not that I would call that finished yet, but it's getting there. And I'm going to merge this down with the layer below it. Okay. And I'm going to zoom in and work on these guys a little bit. I'm going to switch to my pencil. And like so. Soften it a little bit. All right, so we've kind of got some of that laid in. Got this big guy laid in. So let's put a few more highlights on him. And back to this brush, let's see. We're going to go with just the bristle blend. Turn off the lock transparency. Pencil brush, and define his hair up here a little bit more, like so. And just kind of roughing it up with some of this lighter color so that it really shows that there's some fur up there. Kind of sticks up. And again, I'm not trying to paint, you know, a photorealistic version of this guy either. I'm just trying to get the information down of what he is. And give the impression of how it's laid out and how it's designed. And you can, you know, I mean, it's one of those things, you can push it as far as you want. I have never really been into photorealism painting. I mean, I've seen some people do it and I'm amazed by it, but it's just not my thing. And I don't know if that's just a skill thing or it's just a preference. I think it's more of a preference than a skill, mainly because of the fact that I like impressionistic stuff. That's what I like to look at more than I like to look at photorealism. I have mad props and skill, mad props for somebody that does photorealistic. It's just, for me, it's not something I enjoy painting or enjoy looking at and doing. So I tend to be more drawn to impressionistic works. I just like the look of them more, to me, like Sargent and stuff like that. I just find that more appealing. But if that's where you want to go, you can definitely take the techniques I'm talking about and doing here and do that. And I would love to see it. I'd love to see the work that you do. It's all about preference, about what you want to do and how you want to do it. I'm just kind of softening in some highlights on his body to give a little bit different shape. Alright. Okay. So we've got this kind of in there. I think this is a good spot for it. Let me kind of refine some of this. Like so. And there we go. That's definitely looking much better. So I do want to add just a little bit of other texture. So looking at the texture stuff here, let's try this ragged block. And I just want to see how it looks. Dry brushing in some softness on him. All right. These guys I want to clean up just a little bit. so rough around the edges. Make this guy a little darker. Alright, now the next thing to do is let's work on this water. And I'll click that. I'm going to just jump over here real quick to get a darker green. I've not been doing that much, but that is something you can do. So like if you're doing this and you're mixing, but you just need to jump down a different value, then you know, you can use this. I'm just trying to make your life easier by using more of a neutral not neutral, but a limited palette. Sorry, just a limited palette instead. So we got that in there. Now I need to put some ripples. You can do this just with the pen tool, but I actually made a ripple stencil. So and just like that, we've got some water. There we go. So let's remove this stencil. Okay. So this is getting there. I think it's time to start putting some of the quote-unquote frosting on the cake, which I was kind of doing with the ripples there. Actually, I need to do one more thing with that. Bring that back with Control-Z. So by doing those vertical strokes and then putting these horizontal ones in, it really does give that nice reflective look. Now I can remove this. Alright, so some of the icing on this cake that I want to do is pushing the shadows and some of the textures a little bit more. So I am going to take the pencil and start putting in these grasses. And all I did was I selected the lighter grass. And I'm just putting it in there. You can also do this above the bison to make sure that you're seeding him. Select some of the grass underneath him the same color. So that way you can see the shadow. Okay. Just put little ones back here. Like so. And so now that texture we have below makes sense because it looks like it's a whole bunch of grass when it's really just scrubbed on texture. All right. I'm just going over this with the palette knife on the bottom, just to blend it into the layer below, so there's no floating ends. Like so. So that gives me that. Now I'm going to take the pen tool and I'm going to do essentially a little bit more of the same. Oops. Oh, I got the wrong pen. Hang on. One moment, please. That's the one I wanted. So this works almost like the using a liner, script liner brush. If you could see my hand, you would see I'm holding it very similar. So why am I using this? It gets you a smoother line, and it kind of contrasts the fuzziness of the pencil. That is why. Okay, so that gives us all of that. Now then, the other thing I want to do is come up here, and I want to select that kind of that darkish greenish gray. And go back to my inking tool. Just put the slightest edge around that bottom of that, and then just kind of soften it back. That gives a distinct shoreline. I can do the same with the pencil, getting that white. And then that sets that back into the water. Okay, so let's switch to the inking tool. And we're going to grab some of that color and pull it around to kind of clean up that fuzzy edge on the horn. And we can even give it a little bit of texture. Give his nose some texture. A little bit of wetness. The eyes. All right, so we've got that guy kind of put in there, some grass put around him, and some of the clouds and stuff like that. So we can push this a lot more and take it a lot more, and I probably will, but I think this is enough for this lesson to show you how to get to this point. And then from here, it's just a matter of refining it however much you want to. Okay, do you want to spend time and put some more fur texture in here? Do you want to finish this out? Do you like it how it is? Do you want to go in and push some of the darknesses here and there? One of the things that you can do that really can give it some pop is to create 2 more layers. Make one blend mode, multiply, and we'll just call that one multiply. And we'll do this one and call it overlay, because we're about to take advantage of, we're going to set this to overlay, and then we're going to take advantage of digital painting. Alright, so I'm going to select a little bit of this bluish color right there, so it's kind of this blue-gray. And then I'm going to select I'll try some with this Ripples brush. Some of these brushes can be fun to play around with. Oops. And I'm going to bump the opacity down. Now then, what I'm doing is I'm painting some blue over where I think there could be a little bit more shadow, and then I switched a little bit of the orange there. What it does is it multiplies underneath with that color and does a little bit of shadow. Now I can do the same with this yellow and these lightest here for overlay. Any place I want to, say, have the sun pop through. And I can add the slightest of color into it and really start pushing and pulling some of the light. And if I wanted to, jump down to some of these watercolor brushes that I have, like let's say watercolor brush 4, and add a little bit of texture. Do that just by simply playing around. With the lighting, and so then I can really punch up some of the lights, punch up some of the darks. Really enhance some of the colors. Like so. And make the scene just a little bit more dynamic. take the eraser, erase back through some of it. And you've got a much more, just a little more pop to it. A little more pizzazz. So there's our original drawing. Here's kind of where we're ending up. Again, spend more time refining it, tweaking it, adjusting it if you want to, and really playing around with it. But once you have it here, I think you can be at a good point and have learned a good amount of stuff. If you've enjoyed this, let me know. If there's something you would like to see on how to do, let me know. I think ArtRage works fantastic for going from traditional to digital. It has so many options that you can do with it, so many different things. So I hope this has encouraged you to give it a try. I hope you've painted it along with me, and feel free to connect with me on any of the social medias. Facebook, I have a private group, art lessons that you can come over to and join. Just make sure to answer all the questions. You can connect with me on Patreon, and you can connect with me on Twitter and really everywhere, Instagram, so forth. So again, thanks so much for being a part of this class, and I hope you really got something out of it.